For our second part of the multiplying and dividing fractions lesson, we're going to focus on dividing fractions. So before we even start, I want to make sure that we understand, well, what does it mean to divide fractions? So for instance, if we're going to do 3/4 divided by 1/8, it's telling me how many fractional parts are in another number. So I've got 3/4 here, and I'm trying to determine how many eighths are in this 3/4. So I drew 2 circles to model and drew 3/4 and then continued to split it up into eighths. I left the empty 1/4 alone. And as I split them up, then I went through and counted. There are 6 1/8 in 3/4. So going through step by step, I love dividing by fractions. Every time I see the KCF, it makes me think of Kentucky Fried Chicken, even though the C and the F are flipped. But it is KCF and not KFC. So we're going to follow the steps of keep, change, flip. So we have 3/4. We're going to keep our first fraction the exact same it is. We're going to change division to multiplication, and we're going to flip, or what's called the reciprocal of the second fractions. So we're going to flip the numerator and denominator. So 3/4 divided by 1/8, we're going to do keep 3/4, change division to multiplication, and flip 1/8 to get 8/1. And then I'm going to follow the same steps as multiplying. Multiply the numerators, so 3 times 8 is 24. Multiply the denominators, 4 times 1 is 4. And then I am going to divide by a common factor. Well, they both are divisible by 4. So 24 divided by 4 is 6. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And then I am left with 6/1 or 6 whole because there are 6 1/8 pieces. So we're going to look at, with our dividing fractions, dividing whole numbers by fractions, dividing fractions by a whole number, and then dividing fractions by fractions. So if we go through, the first thing, just like we did with our multiplying, is we need to take my 2 and change it into a whole number, a fraction. So I'm going to keep 2/1. I'm going to change division to multiplication, and I am going to flip the numerator and denominator of my 1/9. So then I'm going to multiply the numerators. 2 times 9 is 18/1, which is the same as just 18. So what that tells me is I can get 18 1/9 out of 2 whole. So 6 divided by 1/4. I'm going to put this over 1. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm going to come back and save that for you to do. I definitely did not put those in the right order. Let's come over here to 1/5 divided by 3. So I'm going to make this a improper fraction. I'm going to keep 1/5 because that's what comes first. I am going to change division to multiplication, and I'm going to flip 3/1 to 1/3. So then I'm going to multiply my numerators. 1 times 1 is 1. 5 times 3 is 15. And I am left with 1/15. So I'm going to leave the 6 divided by 1/4 and the 1/3 divided by 6 for you to practice. And then I'm going to come down here and do 4/5 divided by 1/3. So we are going to write down 4/5, change division to multiplication, and flip the numerator and denominator. So I have 3/1. And then I'm going to multiply my numerators to get 12, multiply my denominators to get 5. 5 goes into 12 2 times, and I'm left with 2 pieces. So it would be 2 2/5. So 1/3 can go into 4/5, 2 2/5 times. So I'm going to leave the next ones for you to do, and then you can check your answers on the Canvas calendar.